Hello, folks. Hey, gentlemen and lovely ladies. How the hell are you? Yes, I am here. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the crypto thing, crypto markets. Why she is a dull boy right now, and our philosophy on trading. It's when you're engaged in crypto markets. Hey, Horim, how are you? Good to see you. When you engage in the crypto markets, there's a time for activity, there's a time for rest, and there's a time for immense concentration just prior to activity, and then there's a watching remit whilst in the trade, which I call in-trade management. And then there's ensuring that the closure takes place, whether it's a stop loss, a time stop, in our case, and a target. Hey, Owen, procrastinator. Don, hello, guys. Derek, nice to see you coming on board. Thank you. And what's actually happening now is crypto's a dull boy right now, and there's a reason why for that. And I'm going to suggest to you that while I paint this narrative, live YouTube only allows you to see me. I've just tweeted out on the Market Sniper, at the Market Sniper. I'll retweet it now on the Crypto Sniper, a chart. And if you listen to what I'm saying with that chart in front of you, it's going to take on a whole bunch more meaning. It is the BTC USD chart from the Bitfinex exchange. I did share it with my premium guys just a little bit earlier. And I'm going to let this one leak out to you guys to have a little look at, just with a couple of technical ideas. So here I go. I'm going to go find it on the Market Sniper and retweet it again on the Crypto Sniper. Find that chart. It's just going to help give you a little bit more context as to why we are where we are, and my view as to why it's going to be dull, or it has already been a bit dull and may continue a little longer to be dull. And let's just see, where is it? To retweet. So go to the at the Market Sniper if you haven't seen it. So here's what happened. We had an incredibly long period setup for a very tight squeeze. Here comes the tweet finally through. And I'm going to push it through the Crypto Sniper as well. So just go have a look at that. Have a look at that chart, a draw. So we had an incredibly tight squeeze that was building. We had this battle of the key levels of significance, soft floor and ceilings, soft ceiling, and then we had the hard floor and the hard ceiling. If you remember, that was 7K to 6K. And then I pointed out there was a softer area, 6.2, 6.8 within that. And we were squeezing, and eventually, you know how it resolved. We got what we called almost a textbook inverted HVF there. That was really powerful move to the downside. And what you then get is real price readjustment. In other words, it's throwing it down. Let me get that Bitcoin chart up as well. I'll retweet it through again as well, so that you can see that. This has the big time frame one for your live screen. So you remember that it had a very flat bottom, the spike low. I think it even got into the 5s, but most of it was sitting just above the 6s, and it was hanging between around 6.4 and squeezing. We then got into our situation that extreme low volatility gets resolved. And this is the key thing. And premium guys hear about this as well. And you can have this point for free. The trade is actually the trade on volatility. Volatility is how much you are swinging to the upside and downside, or how calm you are. In other words, very little swinging. It has been raining around here, but I mean swinging and not the naughty kind, by the way. I'm just talking about the oscillations. When you get super tight, that is a precursor to a major move. So as everybody is getting bored as hell, that's the time you should be getting awake as hell. That's why it was such a walk through the desert. I talk to premium all the time, and we'll be doing our non-farm payrolls, where we'll do both a Friday crypto finds on Friday, and we will also do traditional markets for the non-farm payroll, FX and equities. When I talk to the guys, that was a hard labor getting through that desert, because the ranges were getting tighter and tighter, and you were getting a little bit of a fake break and then back in, and each time a little bit to the top. But we were biasing bear throughout that. We were one of very, very few that I know. Most people were on the long side. Most were calling bottoms. And eventually you got a highly expansive breakdown to the downside. And when you get the highly expansive breakdown to the downside, that's the period where your volatility that's gone super, super low suddenly has spiked and gone super high. Yes, it's trading down, but the volatility measure, the change in prices as measured by volatility, suddenly expanded immensely. And that went whoosh. What tends to happen then, once you make your geometric target, and this is the extreme value of hunt volatility funnel method, once you've made it, it's kind of like a spent force. It's kind of like a stud horse that shot his load, if you'll excuse the rather dubious expression. He's a spent force for now. He needs to regird his loins. He's going to go eat, feed, sleep, and build his fire again for future coverings of those mares. Yeah. And in an essence, volatility is a little bit like that. It dissipates really slow. And that's when everybody's bored and goes and plays with other things when they should. The retail guy is usually doing exactly the wrong thing, getting into complete focus. The big event is coming. Once it's expansive and breaking, everyone suddenly wants to play and comes running back. It's too late. Your financial mathematics are screwed because your stop placement to chase in is often too far away now because you've already had an expansive move. This is why HVF method brings financial mathematics into the technical elements as well. So you get a major expansive sell-off that's gone to the downside, and then eventually it finishes and runs its target. And if you have a look at that shorter time frame, I literally took it out of the Bitfinex platform, the second one, and I think it's a minute 30. That just captures the original break where we shorted and the get out point on the target. The get out point of our target has been excellent. We literally sold, even on the 30 minutes, the wick, not even a candle body, and it's traded above that throughout this time. And in fact, it's been in kind of a sine wave, and you'll see what I call as a stall box. It's bumped into a little wind-up pattern just near the end that was required to push you to the target. So it started to get a little bit tired. He was huffing and puffing and banging his head against that headboard, and the mare was still wriggling, and he needed to just get over the line, and then he was done. And what's actually happening is subsequently, having run the target levels, he's come back up to that little wind-up, and he's resisted in that funnel, and he's got support near our target. Resisted at that funnel, support near that target. Resisted in that funnel, support near that target. So he's sitting in a stall box zone. And it's almost like a sine wave, a little bit of complexity in that, little wriggles, micro head and shoulder at the funnel. You can get into it and find patterns on your 5 or 10 minute time frame, but you are not going to get a substantial breakout move immediately. So what happens is it's that rest, it's that interlude period. Call it your Bitcoin stud, your honey badger now needs to regird his loins. So the coverage goes down. Why? Because you've got to preserve your energy and focus. This is not a marathon nor a sprint. And again, this is some of what we give in our premium programs for folk. It's not a sprint. You've got to preserve your energy and your absolute focus. This is why we call it sniperdom. You're not walking around when you're going to the loo looking through the scope of your rifle. It's too intense. It's too much detail. It's sprinting. You can't do that. You're walking around normally, just with your eyes and coping with the here and now and seeing the next 50 yards in front of you clearly and the next 100 just about, because that's all you need. You're going for a leak and you're on friendly air, you're in friendly territory. When you're behind enemy lines, you're sitting there with your spotter. You've got the general in your sights and he thinks no one's around and he's come just with his Batman because there's been no sightings of anybody and you've been keeping your head down and it's been real boring and quiet and he wants to bring the parabats to land here. That's when your spotter is telling you, this is the wind speed, you're good to go, take him in the head, and you take him down, and out of the blue, and that's at the quietest moment. You've got to have absolute focus for the right moment, and you can't focus like that extensively. You need to be off the scope, And even off the binoculars is when you're starting to smell there's a bit of a thing going down, like the squeeze with Bitcoin, starting to smell it's going to come, and not getting thrown off the mechanical bull. Markets make you earn your profits. They make you earn your profits by seeing if they can shake you out. And you have to see it as this is a mechanical bull and I'm holding on. And every time I'm getting whipped in and whipped out and you're going, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Maybe it's a bottom. And the doubts start to creep into your mind. And even I felt some doubts with that long-winded. We had the Bitfinex pump. We had a few red herrings thrown in. But at the end of the day, it kept coming back down. It kept being heavy and leaning on the floor. And it kept squeezing apart from that outlier event. And that set up the eventual continuation trend. And I'm shocked by the number of people that don't trade continuation, calling bottoms. We're going to be wrong. Had a little bit of fun with our EOS friends. I know everybody loves me to mention it, but the key thing is we will be wrong too. Some of them were maybe a little rude, but you know what? They're growing up. They're all on their own emotional journeys and paths. They are who they are. Maybe they got a little wiser. And they saw something that they hadn't seen before. Maybe they'll think a little bit sooner. They'll not respond emotionally. We're all growing. We're all trying to grow, and we're all cocking up at some point. And I will tell you up front that our method at one point you will then fail. So as big maybe a victory it was to call the Bitcoin short, actually calling EOS and the others is just more of the same. It wasn't 5 separate distinct calls when I said Ethereum down to here, EOS down to there, NEO down to there. It was one good, well-based call on the crypto market and just recognizing where the signature was in each individual coin as well. And your God market, and we've introduced this and you'll hear much more of it in premium, and I'm not going to do a full lesson here, but your God market in crypto is Bitcoin, and most of you know that. But you don't incorporate that into your trading. Don't go look at Wave versus BTC or Wave versus USD or some 197 market cap without knowing what your God market is going to do, because it doesn't matter how awesome altcoin number 197 is. You might get one in a blue moon that will defy a Bitcoin sell-off and pump, but it is exceedingly rare. EOS was actually one that was strong when we're selling, but even they then get hit by gravity. And this is what we've had happen. And tonight at 1900 hours, that's UTC or GMT, however you choose it, we're going to be doing a free webinar, and you're welcome to come on board and watch. And this is why I say it's still a shorter season. You become a trader, and some of you might have got into this through crypto and the belief or the assessment. I prefer assessment. I'm not a fan of belief systems, that this is not going to go away. And I actually agree with you. Despite shorting it, I agree with you. And I said that during the bull market as well. But anything that involves humans will have a period of pump overvaluation, and then we'll have a corrective element. Doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's Jesus shoes for walking on water, they'll get overpriced at some point, no matter how amazing and awesome and how world-changing you think it's going to be. Too many people get on that train, leverage gets added, and you get too far discounting into the future. In fact, this whole world economic system is in the overvalued zone. And in actual fact, learning to short on cryptos right now, the cryptos might get its boom and its bust out of the way, and you'll have those skill sets to carry into the equity markets, the commodity markets when we deflate, into all the other things, and be one of those rare guys that's actually making some money when everybody else is losing. You know, everyone made money on the long side. I hate to burst your bubble, or my own bubble for that matter. Everyone who was net long in the crypto bull market made money. And that led people to believe they were great traders or investors. In actual fact, they stumbled into a bull market and bought. And most people only buy. How do you actually buy well? How do you actually ensure you sell well? Because that's the point you make a profit. And how can you also sell well first to buy back lower? That is a sign of a real trader. Learn that skill and it will carry you for a lifetime. Learn that skill. Hear that now. Learn that skill and you are one of the rare. You are one of the rare if you learn how to short, and there is a method and that can show you how to do it. Mitch says the pump was a tether shakeout. It may be. The point is, I call this a little bit of toe tagging. We have a word for it. There's always a narrative. There's always a narrative. You know what? I see it in the charts. I trade it in the charts. I wait for the news afterwards, because by the time the news comes, it's always late. You'll miss the trade. And everybody will sometimes pin a reason. Often, it's not even accurate. I'll say, oh, so-and-so said something on the day. And I'll say, I've been looking at that inverted HVF structure and waiting for this thing for the last 6 months. It had nothing to do with what Joe Schmo stood up and said on one particular moment. This has been setting up to fall for a long time. So you'll often find the news actually it's a psychology thing. It's just to explain, don't hassle. It's for this reason. Because if something goes down and you don't have a reason, it's kind of like a dead body with no name. That's why I call it toe tagging. The minute you say John Doe hit by a truck, next of kin notified, process is done. Everyone has the story, the narrative, they move on. No one's thinking about John Doe. Sad for him. Told the parents, told the kids, told the whatever, into the morgue, in the ground. Unnamed body, not sure how he did, problem. Causes mental cognizance. So the narratives come to fill the void. Get the trade first. Worry about the narrative later. Did my arse on oil, said somebody. Oh, that's an interesting trade proposition. I'm not entirely sure I'm on that. Short this Ponzi. That's the equation for depression. Have you got any tips on trading physiology? Yes, a lot. We do quite a bit of it, and we're introducing more and more into our program. See if you want to invest. If you really want to learn, it's going to require investment, and trading isn't for everyone. I would say that. I have an ulterior motive. I look for good quality candidates to join our community. You were right about EOS, and I didn't believe you. Sorry, Sniper. No problem, Justin. I'll be wrong as well, and maybe you'll be right next time. It's not something you have to apologize, mate. It's just method, and it's just contraction. And if you understand what's going on at the top line level, and you can see there's contraction overall, if there's juice coming out of the system, unfortunately, all boats go down with the shrinking tide. And once you can understand that and know what the God markets are, you get a better idea in terms of what direction things are going to move. Andre Gagnon, what's the EOS call? No further call on any major cryptos at the moment now. So what happens is you have a cycle. It's kind of like a cycle of reap. First, you got to sow. Then you got to get the rain in. You got to plow. And then if you've done good seed, and you've sown good seed. I was worrying talking about these stud horses and now getting onto seed. But anyway, if you sow good seed, you get a good harvest. If you've applied good principles, you get a good harvest. If you've sown inaccurate, biased, or one-sided thinking seed, you don't get a complete crop. You don't get natural fruit. So no major crypto calls. I'm not here to give you calls. I'm here to say, I'm bored with crypto at the moment because it's done what I needed it to do. It's kind of like a job of work. You've just had someone who said, build me a garage. I'm going to pay you $15,000, do me a double garage, and the contract's been delivered, and it was done quickly and efficiently. You need to wait for him to have a new need to pull you in and say, I'm actually thinking of, a bolt-on for a granny flat. I've got the missus's mum who needs to come and grow old under my roof. Okay, how much are you going to do for that? So you did a good job then. You've got to wait for that new need. And that's kind of where we're at. Have a look at that chart, see the stall box, and you'll get an idea. Appreciate the streams and content. Pleasure, Egbear. You're a gracious person. Joseph Paulich, I'm in New York. Many exchanges won't work for me. I'm a beginner, been watching you for a good while and want to learn. Kraken, Joseph. Kraken takes US guys. Forget Bitfinex, they won't touch you. Kraken will take at US guys. There's also those nasty little Winklevoss twins, which are part of the control structure. So you'll probably get onto Gemini. Coinbase as an onboarding one is also an option. So that might help you, buddy. Tim Draper is a crazy BTC animal. That's Sant Gaulis. I have no comment on that. I have no idea who the Honorable Tim Draper is. Kraken doesn't work in New York States. Any of you guys listening to this that are New York based, that have got an exchange for someone new who's wanting to get involved, just type her up. If you're based in New York and you have a good exchange that you use, just put it in the chat and let's see it. Sumaya, how are you? Hello. What else have we got? Captain Obvious, when the bear market ends, simple. We will know when that day comes. At the moment, what you're seeing now. So is the bear over because we made this target? I'm afraid not. I'm afraid not. Is it definitely going to continue? I'm afraid I can't say that right now. I need new trail. I need new footprints. This contract's done. It offered me 6,200 down to 3,744 on Bitfinex, and I took it. Many of our premium community did. What it's going to offer next, we need to see. It's going to come with a new deal. Maybe it'll be a shit deal, and we're going to say no trade, no thank you. Bad risk reward, not a high probability of outcome. So your trading success is, what's my risk reward? How much do I risk? How big can I be? Because if I can squeeze that risk, I can trade bigger for the same loss. How much big reward do I get? And what's the probability of outcome? We talk of a Pout score. So that's part of your mechanism of trade. Low risk reward, probably a probability of outcome a bit mixed. It's like a double bottom or something like this. Nah, I'm not interested. So come and seduce me with a real deal, a juicy contract. And then I'll sign and I'll come and trade and deliver with you. And that's my pitch to Bitcoin. And if I don't have a good idea of what Bitcoin's going to do, I can't wade in and go monster big on number 10 in the market cap, because it's the God market. If I'm indifferent or indecisive on Bitcoin, I can't be super positive on EOS. I can't be super positive on something else. I can't be, if I don't have a larger view on the overall boss market, I can't be strong. So that's why now's the time to rest. If you're a crypto exclusive, now's the time to rest, brush up on skills, not losing in between. Sign those big juicy contracts, and then make sure you don't pick up a cocaine habit or a bad gambling habit in between and give it all back just by trying to be in the game, rinsing and repeating something that isn't there. We had a setup that came from May and took all the way to November to resolve, guys. That's a long, long time. Nice, big, juicy setup. That was the making of that contract. You need that whole gestation. It's like a baby. It's got to be grown. You've got to grow baby elephants. It takes a year in the uterus before you get your big bombs out the other end, and your ivory and your skins and your big, friendly, fluffy animal. You've got to wait for that gestation period. And if there's nothing gestating, if it's just happened, there's no harvest. There's no harvest. It's time to get seed out and start looking and turning the soil again for the next harvest. And that's kind of where we're at. And that's kind of where I'm saying to you guys, don't trade. Don't even invest right now, because it could go lower. My overall bias is bear or square. At the moment, that's square, but I'll be 51% more that on the bigger time frames in time, we will probably trade lower, and I'll be wrong at some point. And also for our bottoming, we'll get rounded bottomings, marginally lower lows. We teach you a lot of concepts to look for that you can find out about on the webinar tonight at 7:00, or when you come on board, if you elect to come on board. And there will be an offer, and we've done a lower price point entry self-study for people who can't always stretch for the high premium service. So let's look at your comments again. Thanks for coming and sharing and liking. It's really cool if you like and bump us up. How did you start off trading? Do you have any education in economics? Interesting question. I was passionate about the market, so I read a lot of books. And all that happens is you become very well informed about how other people traded and their methods, and you continue to lose. Because I didn't find a single method in a book that I actually won off consistently. That doesn't mean you can't do things, but you can learn about lots of concepts, candles, tactical patterns. So I've actually got a cupboard to the right here full of books, and I will do a YouTube on books that have contributed to me getting to where I am. No one book gave me it. I had to develop my own method, and this is why HVF method is bespoke, and I'm the only one who can deliver it. But I can tell you there were bits of value that were taken, but they are rare gems. It truly is sifting for gold. I'm afraid there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of sand, grit, and crushed quartz out there for every microgram of gold dust that you actually pan for. You've got to wade your way through. And if you take the traditional academic approach, which we're all prone to do, try become an expert. You become a very well-informed bad trader. You can read all the news, know what Angela Merkel thinks and the gossip and what this person thinks. I have a good understanding of economics because I have an interest in control structures, and it's all about power and money. Your control structures are who writes and creates the money. I care not who makes the laws if I control the money. Amschel Rothschild. Okay. And every bit of your entire history is all about power and money. It can be reduced to those two words: the Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire, power and money, the creation of it, power and money, and church, power and money, Vatican, and who looks after it. You go into all these things. It can be reduced down to those two things. What market would you trade now if not crypto? So good point. So we're focusing a lot on the FX commodities and equities, and we've got a great FX trade that I quite like. I've hedged up my guys on it, and as I say, I've got to respect them. You can find out about it as a client too. There's not just one. There's a couple of things that we're keeping an eye on, but there's one that is in play right now that I'm really quite confident with, a really high reward to risk. It actually has a narrative that I expect that'll attach with it, which includes the Open Society, our friends in the Open Society and the EU. But you need to find out a little bit more on that if you're on board. So FX is interesting. You want to watch the indices. I've shared on Twitter, so I can give you this for free. You may have a left shoulder with a big head and then a subsequent right shoulder to form on NASDAQ and Dow. But at the same time, big warning. You will nearly always be wrong calling shorts on indices, nearly always. And I've called shorts before on indices, and are probably 70% of the time inaccurate. So indices spend their time grinding up. The control structure's entire game is building the wealth through the indices and stacking it up in the hands of the few at the cost of the many. But eventually that will end. So you are trying to catch the big one. It's kind of like going to Nazar to do big wave surfing, and you're an intermediate surfer. You better be on your game, boy, because odds are you're going to get smashed. So in indices, individual equities, I'm biased bear on individual equities, particularly the small and medium cap ones. I also personally, my assessment is, I must sound like a pessimist. I'm actually an optimistic person by nature. But my expectation is that there are lots of gremlins to come out. There always have been, but they've been hidden and not discussed, and the news has been managed. We don't talk about the Eurozone debt problems on quite the same scale. We don't talk about the US trade deficits on trial. They're all there and getting bigger. The narrative is all Trump versus China on trade and all of this. I had to laugh at the Fed with their interest tightening cycle that I said wouldn't go very far, and how it suddenly went from we're well behind being in neutral of rates to we're almost there. I think we might have to stop at 1.5. I thought, they wouldn't have to. Surprise, with how those guys have lodged up on the side. So simple compound mathematics says these guys are going to play act that they're normalizing things. They're never going to get there. You'll never have normal interest rate environment again until we've reset. So let's have a look. Thank you. I stay away, says refined hayseed application. Tio Dam, Crypto Sniper, how long do you think it will take for the 200-day moving average to turn around? You know what? No idea and no interest. Not because I'm trying to be mean to you, because it's not a valuable thing to observe. It's not a valuable thing to observe. And you're going to say, that's sacrilege. Every technical analyst I ever speak has moving averages, and 200 days is this long-term one, and you get these crosses. You can get whiplashed on a 200-day moving average. You can trade through it many times. It's not useful. Price behavior. This is my pet peeve. And I was told this, so I have no grievance for where you're at. I remember being told all of this when I was coming through as a technical analyst. Oh, and the price behavior bounced off the moving average, like this invisible line that's going through the sky that little birds bounce off and skim off. It's like a hill. There's a net there, for the price behavior. No, it didn't bounce off the moving average. People trade price. That's it. And they don't know where the moving average is. They're busy panic selling and panic buying. And if you watch a line often enough and you have another line that's mathematically determined to follow the other line, you're going to get enough instances where it bounces, crosses back over, does every single permutation in the book. So moving averages, you should be able to see what trend you're in by examining price data. One of the key things I do that I consider a value add is to take away most of the irrelevant stuff out. What actually happens is you can go study everything and you can Heiken-Ashi, cloud, Tenkan this, Tenkan that. These are combinations of moving averages, mathematical formulas. There's 2,000 plus indicators. By the time I've finished this YouTube, there'll probably be 5,000. The truth of the matter, mathematical formulas applied to price behavior does not give you high probability-based outcomes. It's one of the easiest things to set algos to, and everyone would be a millionaire trading a moving average crossover system or a MACD combined with it. And including one with another doesn't take away all the flaws in that one and this one take away all the flaws with that one. So they beautifully wash each other's faces, and now you have an amazing system either. So I tried it, stochastics with RSIs, and then I thought, what actually are these lines? That data that's been manipulated by a maths formula. There is nothing forward-looking in that. Patterns give you probabilities, targets, and potential directional moves. And we specialize on what I believe is the very best pattern. And very few people agree that it's the very best pattern. So I'm really happy that we can own that space. How long USD will stay strong? Good question. I'd love the answer myself. The point is I'll look technically and I'll say, I'll see what it's doing. In my view, we've got a little bit of pound weakness to come potentially against the USD. We've had a little bit of a slap in the face for the USD against the peg against China. So America's probably been trading a little bit high against China. China's had an export advantage. Remember, they needed a bit of reheating after their credit bust, after being the only guy buying everything post 2008. They ended up in meltdown in 14 and 15, and then everyone ran to help China. So everyone now has a debt problem. We've now synchronized the global economy so that every major nation and central banker is in the same room, on the same page, so that we can do a nice big fat all fall down together. And then the solution that they've been preparing for you all along can be brought to you and delivered. And you can say, here you are. But first, you need to feel the pain of that. And boy, is it going to be a nasty little downdraft. And you're going to scream, government, government, save us. And they're going to come with their plan. And boy, you better be ready to have it forced down your gullet. Think of that foie gras goose. You're going to be sitting there. They're going to have you by the neck, my friend. And they're going to be shoving that seed down your throat. And it's going to be brutal. And you're going to feel it. Your throat won't be the same for a long, long time. Yes, I buy into panic selling. That's being contrarian is a useful thing. And I would say that our method ends up often putting us in an environment where we end up being contrary to the existing news. All I can say on Bitcoin and cryptos is they're pumping really positive news, and this thing is flat as a doorknob. You do not bottom on pumping good news and having next to no response. You bottom when all the bad news is coming out. Miners have left. People are quitting crypto. Crypto's freaking dead. And you get negative news and you start to see impulsive trading up. So when there's a wall of negative news and you start to trade up, that if you want that as an analogy, will be far more powerful. And I don't think we're there yet, but I could be wrong. Can't wait. Deep throat. Yes, someone likes my analogy about the foie gras and being force fed. Is the purpose of shorting to get more USD or more BTC in the end? So, John, at the moment, you can select your benchmark of what it is you build. And at the moment, if you're trading a fiat versus Bitcoin, USD Bitcoin as a classic simple example, my benchmark is fiat in the bear markets and Bitcoin in the bull markets. So you want to build Bitcoin in bulls and you want to build fiat in bears. So I would go USD BTC and I'd look to build and make a fiat based profit. So you have to determine that. And where we're at right now, I'm on the fiat side. So it stays a bear until I start getting a whole bunch of things wrong at the bottom, and until we start getting bullish, impulsive moves, even when the worst news is coming out. And I think we need, miners going bust and people saying all the infrastructure is being cleaned out and there'll be no one left mining. And we need that complete desperation, like, wow, was I conned? That every last person just thinks, wow, this was just a complete scam. That's when the last believer concedes. That's when potentially. What about when it tops? Well, we've just had one, Anthony. We've just had one. Any thoughts on blockchain games helping adoption? Anything that increases utility will start to get new reasons for people to get engaged. We need that next level of engagement. Anything that increases utility. I see the dark state is building up a lot of DHS in the States, a lot of additional resources for taking a run at Zcash and Monero. So, they really don't like privacy, and anything that involves privacy is immediately assumed as illegal, terrorism, and money laundering. And of course, that's convenient for them because they therefore have created you maintaining your own privacy as an act of criminality. They've associated it with an act of criminality. So the framing now is government should be allowed to get to see everything. And if you've got nothing to hide, why would you have a worry with it? Well, actually, you abuse the information and the data, and we have every reason to worry and to hide, because you're a nasty little control structure and an extraction mechanism that's designed to squeeze as much juice out of the lemon as you can get away with, and control and sell our data and do all sorts of perversions that we haven't given you permission for. We have every reason to seek as much privacy as we can hopefully get in a diminishing manner, in a diminishing technological world where everything is electronic and driven through technology. And this is the great sin that is on, the murder of privacy. And this is what sees Assange spending a prison sentence in an embassy without light, and actually had a couple of days without food even. And that is criminal. So thanks for the Q&A. How do I open the eyes of my fellow African Americans to this movement? I can't succeed. What I would say, especially if you're addressing the African American community, I don't know if the message is any different for any other. So I don't speak, I don't adjust my message for it by ethnicity or gender or any other divisor. What I would say is there's a couple of places where you can learn. Sometimes I think the things that galvanize African American culture really strongly is the sense of injustice. There's still the civil rights movement and hitting the streets capability, and that's not always a bad thing. Just got to make sure it isn't misdirected and always violent. You need to be smart. But go and look at the dark state's role in the death of Martin Luther King. It shouldn't be Hoover Dam. It should be Martin Luther King Dam, as murdered by Hoover, the dark state, and the CIA, and patsied by a lone gunman story. And that was a man who had a good message, and who was terminated for when he got involved. The key flipping point for Martin Luther King was when he started to speak about not just civil rights for African Americans, but he started including, after seeing kids napalmed in Vietnam, the anti-war movement. And that then provoked the Kissinger Doctrine people, the dark state Kissinger Doctrine people. These are the enemies of society. These are our enemies. If the African American community can properly, and any other for that matter, because as I say, my message isn't indifferent, truly recognize who the dark state operatives are, and be specific about addressing them. They will be white, but don't think it's white guys. They will potentially be of certain ethnicities, religions, and all sorts of things, but be specific about who the operators are, and the political movement that they enforce. The war is peace doctrine. And that normally, when you get an injustice and a murder without an injustice, it's never hesitated to galvanize the African community into action. So go with that and help them understand who the operatives are, and help them to be specific, because the blue collar white guy is your friend. He's not your enemy. Think outside of gender and race. Think specific cartel groupings that are us against them. Who is the perpetrator? Who uses divide and conquer to create race-based issues? Who'll create a story and then it's white males are the perps and always being put in the victim chair. Avoid someone always putting you in the victim chair. There's the drama triangle, guys. The drama triangle. We strayed from cryptos a little bit, but it's worth hitting this one in the head. It's an interesting question. There's the drama triangle, which is perp, the perpetrator, victim, and then there's that third dark force. That's the guy you need to know. The third dark force, through his media and his other cartels and other things, sets up how the one perp is hurting the other one. And in on a race division, it's say, white cop killing this, maybe. Sometimes there have been really bad things. So maybe they'll get into trouble with that. I'm not well up on it. But avoid being put in the victim chair. Because you're being played by the third force in all of that, and identify that and say, I'm never a victim, even if you've had some tough calls. That's how I try galvanize them. Anyway, I'm slightly out of my depth there, but I hope that helps. Backed. Someone's asking about Backed. Surely the news about Backed and Fidelity coming to, these are huge news. This is huge news, but truth is, I see it as bad news. This is the institutionalization of crypto. This is we'll hold your coins for you. We'll hypothecate. We'll tell you it's fine. We are the guys with credibility. We ICE the exchange, and we've got all these people that run the exchanges, control markets. People who control markets have very high levels of power. People that can then use leverage, hypothecation, and all sorts of techniques can control price. In the end, they can get very close to price control. And they can certainly dominate it extensively for long periods, even for short moments when they can't. The euro Swiss franc was one of those moments where a single central bank couldn't entirely hold back the tide. But those moments are rare. The big dark states get away with it. Julius, you can expect anything. It's too much risk for you. It can go to zero. If you're okay with that, then just hold on until you hear it breaking new all-time high. I have no interest in trading. Is now a good time for investing in Bitcoin? So the point which you enter is one of the most important points. It sounds an absolutely dumb and obvious thing to say. Your entries freaking matter. How far away is your end of trade? I'm calling it quits. I got this wrong. My cut loss. If you don't have one and you're just saying, no, I'm investing, I don't need a stop loss, I won't use leverage. I'm sorry, you still need to know where you get wrong. Because if you put 10 grand in and I start taking 100 of it a day, you say, well, I've lost $100. It's not the end of the world. I'm on 9.9. Then a couple of weeks later, you're on 8 grand. 3 months later, you're on 6 and dropping. And eventually you get to the point where you're on 2 or 3 and you think, well, I can't close now. This is the emotional games you go through. I've been here and done this countless times. I know the script. I can't close now. It's only going to come back and I'll regret it later. Then it goes to $500 and you realize you've lost 95% of everything. And then you're furious. And then it goes to like $50 and you think, you know what? I'm not going to let it take my final dollar. I'm not going to be the last patsy in the room holding it. And everyone's asking, you still holding Bitcoin? Didn't you realize whole Ponzi scheme? Boom. That's the point that it then changes. So you want to accept that you're not going to get the first 5% and ensure you wait the whole bear out. Except you're not going to get the first 5% and 10% and wait the whole bear out. Wait till the big time frame views start to offer you. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet on what we've currently got. In my opinion, we're not there yet. And I can't tell you how long it could be. We could have the longest bear ever and an all-time high. Folks have got to realize we did a 10x in 17. We did a 10x. I've got charts. I'm actually fairly new to crypto compared to other people. There's folks that have been in here since 2010, 11, some 13 or 14. I'm in essence almost a noob in terms of, I'm not in trading, let me stress, and not in understanding markets and control structures either. I'm an old hand at those things, and certain things don't change. So I have experience where I need it. But actually, I was looking at a chart recently, and I was looking at, and Bitcoin was 182 grand, and that was a couple of months when I was trading. I think it was May, June last year. And as I say, I wasn't particularly active in 2016. I picked out a few HVFs for fun, but I wasn't engaged particularly. It was just a nice draw. And I had a few people that were following the method that had become interested in saying, hey, you should be looking at this. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing just fine. I've got all of this, liquidity. And then eventually I got sucked in. So I'm late to crypto, but I can tell you that last year you could have had Bitcoin for under $2,000. So who's to say it can't revisit that as part of this bear market? I can't tell you it won't. And at the moment, it's not bottoming. It's not giving clear evidence of a bottom. Despite the positivity of the news, don't buy news. You're not buying news. Your P&L doesn't profit from news. You need an entry, the buying point, how much you paid, and what's it due to do next on balance of probabilities. That's the game. Listen, guys, many of these trading cups paid. Oh, thanks, Christopher. That's absolutely inaccurate. I'm afraid he's trying to say that if you paid £1,000, we have a variety of products. Some of it is self-study in a pre-recorded room where you have no interaction, but you can watch and get all videos from me. And other things are hired communities, which if I had my share screen, you actually participate in and you get all our live webinars and everything else. So I don't appreciate what you're saying, Christopher. Your information is not accurate, but you're there and you're free to say it. And I protect everyone's right to say it, even to talk rubbish. Max, we're close to levels where you can buy whole alt projects up. So we're near bottom, in my view. You may be right, but some of those alt projects may need to hit the wall, Max. Some of these old projects may not need to exist. I mean, we don't need a boo.com and a pets.com just because it's internet. If you can buy stuff online, big retailers can go online and they can do it. We didn't need boo.com. We didn't need pets.com and all of those things. So I'm afraid not required. We had 120x on some altcoins, Francis. Yes, that's Gayeto Kebu. I mean, that's real hype and real pump. Remember also, things like Lumen, 13% of it is actually being traded. These guys are sitting on a wall of this. They pump it, and then when a lot of the people start momentum buying, they can distribute this in and increase the flow into this. I mean, they were doing airdrops, and this is where you see the XLM airdrops, and they were designed to the airdrops were designed for people that did a full verification process. If you wanted to qualify, you had to open the certain wallet. I think it was blockchain.wallet, and you had to go throw your details and your data at them. Then they'll throw you a few free coins at you. As far as I'm concerned, I don't need to do that, and I don't need to pick up pennies in front of steamrollers of the control structure. There's not enough juice in that squeeze, and I don't. They are getting behavior out of you. Nothing is for free. Nothing is for free there. It's far better someone tells you you're going to pay. We tell you what you're going to pay, and we tell you what you're going to get. There's nothing that is for free. And these airdrops, I've never chased an airdrop. I got my Bitcoin Cash when it split, and I was grateful to do it because I was holding Bitcoin, all of that good stuff. Even a scam alt network retains some value to scam again at some point, says Max. I don't spend a lot of brain power thinking what scam altcoins might do. There's no liquidity, there's no trade. I'm here to help others build their wealth and build my own wealth by what's going on in the market. I don't need to look at the arse end of the ladder. So my personal view is trade in the top 30 and have 85% in the top 10, and actually 60% of that 80% should be the top 3. And don't ever have more than 3 trades on at once. That's my maximum. Most of the time I'm 1 or 2. Because you're going to get correlation. You guys are going to get fooled. You're going to think F's going up and BTC is going down, and then you watch them both fall. Because you forget that there's a God market and you have no method. And I'm trying to save you. Don't lose money. You're correlated. Your money management is screwed up. You have 3 trades in, you're going to get kicked in the arse in 3 places when you're wrong. The overall asset group is a very strong risk on, risk off element. Overall asset group takes a dump, you get kicked in the backside on 3 different trade ideas, even though they might have looked slightly different and doing something different. When the big boss sells, they all sell. Generally, that's not a 100% rule, but it's a 95% rule. Why should you put your money in only top 30? Well, if you want, you see, this is the great thing. I call this the casino effect. The guys that someone mentioned 120x. Everybody, when I started trading, everybody loves a penny stock. Everybody loves a penny stock. Why? Because if you can buy it for a couple of pennies, 5p, and then it can got all this blue sky to move up into. Imagine it becomes a £5 or a £10 stock and you got it for 5p. Well, what if it was a 1p and becomes a £10 stock? That's 1,000x, you know. You don't even need to have put $500. You're buying lottery tickets, guys. You're buying lottery tickets. If it had that much potential, it wouldn't be a 1p stock. That's the thing. Yes, there'll be one in a million that does exactly that. My first trade that I thought was interesting was something on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange that was 2 cents at the time. And sometimes it dropped to 1, and every now and then on a day it traded 3. And then it ended up delisted and you lost everything. And I was fascinated by something you could make 100% up on and short for 50%. And it's just chasing the sizzle. Don't chase the sizzle of extremity X's. Have real reason. Let me tell you, you can even make 30% on a crypto in a few days, easily on a major. And you can have a little bit of leverage. You can have a 5x leverage on that. You don't need to try chase 120x. It's not that market anymore. You know, I was in discussions with a big businessman who had extreme wealth, and we were doing an AI development on our method in terms of trading crude oil and everything. And he said, "Yeah, but you're in breach of performance if this thing doesn't do 600% per year on trading the oil market." And I'm like, "No, you have unrealistic expectations." He says, "I'm getting that on ICOs. I bought 5 million Veritasium, $5 million worth of Veritasium. I bought 6 million. I got 6, 7, 8 times." I said, "Have you sold all of those yet?" Okay, so you've got a paper profit of that in a rare window of complete mania. How's those ICOs done now? Go have a look at the Veritasium shares. Go look at the other things. It was unrealistic expectations based on a new tech that was highly frothy and everyone was storming in. It was unrealistic expectations. I couldn't sign those agreements and I walked away. Don't set yourself up to fail. Actually, small gains consistently. This is the tortoise versus the hare. The amount of times I try to hit the ball out the park is the amount of times you strike out in baseball. If you want the American analogy for my American friends, swinging for the bleachers on every time. Sometimes you just got to bunt and get onto first base. You're still in the game. You still could get your home run. You swung and missed 4 times, trying to smack the thing out the park into parking row H. You're just not got it. Every ball is different. No, I don't think they're going to deliver on Very. I know of the guy, and I've seen him on apps and everything. I'm not sure that I think the delivery on all of those blue sky elements is going to be allowed. And I don't think the control structure, particularly as it overlaps a lot with investment banking and all of that, are going to allow him to own that. So no, I don't. But that's a fundamental opinion. The chart is terrible. So the chart is terrible, like many others. So both my fundamental opinion and that is not particularly optimistic. But if we get a bull run again and he's still standing up, when everything, even the shit flies when things go up. Not that I'm saying he's shit, but we've had a lot of coins that gone up that probably in the cold light of day don't offer that much difference. You think Bitcoin's still going to be a top dog when crypto bottoms? I think there will be a little bit of a threat eventually at some point of some flipping, and I fear the control structure tokens are going to advance a lot. So that's something I've said before, and that involves Ripple and Lumen as possibilities. Has the sniper set his sights on a potential final BTC low price? Without structure, I can only guess, Thanks for your question, but the truth is I don't have an answer. And when I do, my premium guys will know it first, and we'll be discussing it and we'll be observing it. And we'll know that we'll have a rough idea of the quality and the potential. And then as it tightens up and gets closer to doing what we think it may do, we'll either be 180 degrees wrong, which happens quite regularly, or we will be on the bandwagon, riding it down again and taking another juicy contract out. Yeah, possibly. XLM, I think Ripple is a little bit more advanced on them, but I do think those coins could do. But I worry about, the amount that they've held back, how much is still in issue. So, you actually put it to you like this. I own Market Sniper Enterprises family business, and I give all the shares to myself, my family members, and everything. And I list only 5% of the company. And then I throw my big ass overdraft and I pump that 5% to the moon, and everybody just buys the momentum and takes it even higher to Mars. Now, the rest of my 95% is supposedly worth what I managed to manipulate the 5% to. And if I extrapolate that, let's say that 5% of the stock, is now worth tens of millions. That means the 95% is worth, a whole bunch more. But then I try sell that 95% to the guys holding the 5%. There's not enough money to support that, and it'll crash all the way back down. So you need to look at the freedom of float. What percentage of the float is actually out in individual hands and not held institutionally and not held back? Just make sure you invest monthly in your own top 5 projects and look again in a couple of years. It's not bad advice, says George. If you're not trading and you're not and you have no appetite for trading, and you assess that cryptos aren't going away, yes, indeed, you could do that. The only issue we might have is, what if they become extremely successful, but very, very stable and barely trade and don't go up and don't move much anymore, and the volatility goes out of them and they become more stable than shares and equities. They just stay the same and they just get used a lot, and all the money's in the fees. We hope the coins go up. I think they will, but I'm just saying there's a bunch of scenarios that can happen, and we can still have a successful cryptography kind of world, and without them going, oh yeah, Ripple CEO was richer than Jeff Bezos on paper once, yeah, for a few days in December, and now he's like 1/10 of his wealth, or maybe less. I've got the heater jacked up and I'm breaking a sweat. What else? It's madness to say only invest in top 30, because there are a lot of coins with stronger fundamentals. It may be madness. That's strong language. I always say, be careful when you use a strong language. What works for one doesn't work for all. I may be mad. I was called a lunatic already by the EOS boys. They did have to retract on that. You might find that there's a clean out at the real lows. And a lot of those altcoins, you may even find decent alt ideas and projects with real, real sincere people that wanted to do something. But there's not enough different about their coin, or they can't fulfill the objectives. They run out of capital and no one wants to invest in ICO. They get dried out. They just get dried out. The only guy I spoke to of a coin, and he didn't do an ICO, he did a private placement, so it's not an ICO, was Metal, long time ago. And it's just gone down, 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 and down. Great idea, helping the cannabis growers. How's that for another crypto market associated to a crypto? Helping the cannabis growers get legitimate merchants and payments and all that. A sincere enough guy, all sounded good. It's been killed. I don't know what's happened. It's hard to execute in business. It's hard to execute in business. You've got to look after all your stuff. So what can I say? You don't just win. You don't just fail because you're a scammer. You fail because it's hard. It's hard, and you have to get capital, and you have wages to pay, and you have devs that want pay increases and things like that. Steam is broke. I've been asking one of my guys to post videos on Steam, so all my YouTubes get put on Steam. The activity there is really, really low for me. There's no comparing, and I wish for it to be the other way. Google is behind YouTube. I'm busy utilizing them. They've got everything I'm saying. They know my voice. Jesus, they could probably murder one of you guys and leave a recording of my voice and a piece of my DNA. They've got so much technology right now. I reckon if they really wanted to frame any one of us for a crime, they could do it. They could have me they could take words from my voice and have me leaving a threatening message on your phone just from words that I've used before. I've often laughed about, these guys have got everything, and I'm not comfortable with that. I'd love for DTube and Steemit to be real decentralized alternatives. It's just there's not enough going on there. Every time I go on there, there's not even a single, 1 or 2 comments. There's not scale. You need scale to win. And that's the other thing with the cryptos. That's why the small cryptos are going to be your problem. You're playing for a lottery ticket and you can have 10 and they can all 10 lose because you don't have scale. Scale changes everything. Scale changes everything. When you realize that in business, Amazon is a scaled business. Uber is a scaled business. All of these businesses are huge, global, and scaled. If you've got the same great idea and you're passionate in your little local district, you are not going to survive. They will crush you. You're not a scammer. You just got done by a bigger resource that's doing a similar thing to you. And scale means everything. Phil, maybe you're right, but I don't have 10K playing around, especially in this crypto run. Hello, Sir Francis. Handy Rams. Hello, how are you? Steam is broke. I don't think it's broke, but I'm just not. It's not growing fast enough for me to say, hey, I don't need YouTube. I'll go and broadcast on Steam. I admit it. How many of you guys would be here if I was doing this on Steam? Probably not. I don't even know if they have a go live function like what we're doing here. You speak the truth of any trader I've seen. Do you have any premium materials apart from the course? So one day, when I get my act properly together, there'll be a book. I think it'll be more than one book. It'll need to be a series. So thank you for your kind words as well. I appreciate you, and thanks for noticing. We try to be straight up as possible. We will. So hopefully a book will be in there. We've actually done as I say, a self-study program, which is you don't get interaction, but you can go and just swat it up and watch it and take notes. And then you get one webinar with my newbie coach. And I think you get a non-farm payroll with me. So you will actually get some interactions. We've done that option, which is kind of mainly on your own, but with some interactive elements for you to exploit to try bring other people in. I want you all to win. I mean, if I had a magic wand, I'd want all the retail guys to have a real win. But it's a journey, and you've got to grow. You aren't going to win if you just take it on a whim. You don't know what you've asked for. It's a big farm you want to manage now. You're going to have to learn to sow, restore water, do a whole bunch of things you never thought about. Turn chickens, a whole bunch of things. Will the market ever actually bounce back? My assessment is that it actually probably will. My assessment is it probably will. But there might be a few. It might bounce back a little lighter. A few bandwagon chasers might be shaken off. There might be a few less miners for a while, but in time they might come back. But they've been burnt, so it'll take a while. So that's why things bottom for a while. They bounce around. You don't go bear, instant bull. They do have a D Live, but I hear nothing but problems coming from Steam, says King Browser. Thanks. You're a smarter man than me on these things. And I don't ever want to be the brand new guy while they're developing their tech, and it's all just cockamamie. So I'll wait till I'll be early adopter, but not front runner. Reading Anti-Fragile now. Bitcoin is anti-fragile. Ethereum scale mess can bring bottom. Panic soon. Yes, that would be helpful. The best thing would be an absolute capitulation, nasty sell-off for the future and the shakeout. The sooner you get a proper mass killing, then you have pieces and everyone's in a state of shock, and it feels like the worst moment. It's actually the beginning of the recovery. That's it. Yes, Horim says best investment is investing in your education and working on unlimited return of an investment. That's why you're one of my guys, man. Starman, is it better to buy BTC or top 3 or 5 or 10? You're good with the top 3, 5, and 10. I've said that there is variances in relative strength at the moment. I've highlighted where they are, but that's on this down leg. Things can change when we start to bull. Someone else might be stronger bull when you start to bull, but you don't, as I say, go bare bull. We're going to churn, chop, grind. It's going to have to become boring and dull. It's not what you want to hear, but it needs to become dull again and base out. I haven't met Nicholas Taleb. I know of him through Twitter and his book, The Black Swan. He speaks great sense. I have visited a few conferences before, but I find that they often end up being sales shops. One coin with a stand selling their attributes to you, and others really busy, crammy, bungy. I'm more interested in insightful speakers I will be at Acapulco, which is kind of the dollar vigilante and the control structure, and crypto Puco. So I go there. I will be on the stage there. So I'll be preparing a nice chat, hopefully an entertaining one and an insightful one. I'm gathering a lot of thoughts at this point. Digibyte, it's a penny, but I'm huge in this one. You think this one's a gamble, like you mentioned? I know that Richard Hart said some positive things about it. Fundamentally, I'm not the guy to ask. I'll tell you where I'm strong and where I'm weak. Fundamentally, I couldn't tell you. Technically, I'd have to look at the chart, and I haven't looked at the chart in a while. So the best thing is to say it's safest that I don't give you a view on that. But I have heard some people say that tech-wise, there's more to them than a lot of other coins that are bigger. But that's third hand, and I don't have the information to back that up. So I'm sorry, I can't be too supportive there in any sense. But if I looked at the chart, I'd form a view, but I would expect it to look like most of the altcoins for now. So we'd need to see how much bounce has it when the market conditions change. Hence why Bitcoin and the God market matters. Small hash rate. Your thoughts on the viability of crypto? Long run, I think it's not going away. If you were new to this market, would you start the purchase of BTC? Then how much do you trade and how much do you hold for long-term holdings? You're not going to like what I'm saying. I'd say the best is learn education on how to trade and invest and to build wealth. Because my assumption is one of the reasons you're going to engage, one of the core reasons is to build wealth for your future. And you've identified crypto as a potential space where that could occur. And understanding a lot of these concepts that I've said, some of it will wash over because it's first time. Some of it sounds hyper obvious, but maybe you only understand it at the surface level, not to the nth level. Not because you're not smart, just because I rattle these things off and I've become them through years and decades of exposure. And I know what I deep-seated mean by them. Whilst for you, these concepts are kind of new and maybe self-obvious. So I would say you're learning and saving consistently over a sustained period, forced savings with an escalator into any asset class, crypto part of it, but I would actually diversify. I think this is going to go down lower and trying to avoid ever cutting that back. So you only escalate even at 5%, and you save and you get educated so that you don't go straight to the leverage when you haven't earned and saved the lower layer. Develop the discipline and the patience to do constructive saving. Unbiased look at markets is the hardest thing to do, says Stacey. Yep, I think you're right. Waiting 13 months already. That's Deirdre. I'm not too sure what Deirdre is talking about. I think I should do better, wait some more. Yeah, hold on. Keep saving and build cash. Cash is not a bad place. Okay, guys, I'm going to wind this one down. Giving you a couple of thoughts. This is why we're not particularly active right now in crypto. We're not doing a lot of talking. We're not doing a lot of chatting and a lot of tweeting. So this is a game where you must rest, spend time on your relationships, get off the internet, do all your other stuff. And then every now and then keep a watching remit and watch the God market. The bulk of the charts, 50% of what you're doing, technically, should be Bitcoin. The other 30 could be Ripple, Ethereum, and any of the other top 5. And then the remaining 20 can be whatever you want, but I'd still keep it in the top 30. If you want to do fundamental and throw a $5 or $100 on a real long shot, I'd be my guest. It's very rare that those pay. We have had an ICO season, but that was special managed pumps. And how much of that are you still holding? If you didn't know to get out, and you never sell on the way up because it's, hey, I'm just getting richer. Why should I sell? So that's the whole thing. And we've got a course coming out. So Christopher has asked about the free view. We do have a course coming out. We've finished 4 of the lessons. We've got 2 final videos to complete. I've run a bit behind on that. We've been working on our platform for our premium guys. We want to make it better. We keep doing subsequent things. So there's been a couple of things. I expect we'll start dropping that, and we'll contact all of you who registered for that free course. And I say it's going to be principles. It's and interesting and hopefully entertaining. And you'll be able to watch that. I will try dig out the link. I'll tweet the link out or put it in the details of the recording again. There is a few slots still available that can be taken on that. So we'd suggested by December, the beginning of December, we'd start end of November, and we've run a little late on that. So it is coming. And in fact, we already could release each week. We've got 4 weeks of the material, but we didn't want to start. We wanted to finish it in entirety so that we could look at it in completion. So that is a fair question, and it is coming. Good. Volume not high enough. Volume not high enough. Beat on your chest. Talk a little louder. Just in time to say goodbye. Sorry to. I hope it wasn't too quiet for you. Hope it was decent enough volume. Look forward to talking to you all again. Thank you for following, liking, and coming on, and hearing me out on the chat. Stay in touch. Play nice in the comments. Remember, there's a person on the other side there in every case. And yeah, be a gent. You could always see that writing in 30 years' time and regret it. And I look forward to seeing you all again. And we'll keep talking on cryptos in Crypto Sniper, the YouTube channel. But we'll wait until there's something to say. We're not going to talk for talking's sake. So that's it. Yes. How do I register? Yes, indeed. Register for the webinar tonight. That comes at 7 o'clock. Okay, that you need to do on themarketsniper.com, sniper.com. Go and register. You can get a link for the webinar tonight, 1900. That's not too far off, actually. I'll wear a jacket and be smart so that you can be impressed. And we will have a more formalized presentation. And for the free course as well, I will post a link in the this recording of this YouTube comeback. I'll post it in the notes, both the website for registering for the webinar and also for the free view course that we'll drop a video each week for the better part of 5-6 weeks over to you. So it'll come to you over Christmas when you're getting bored and all the family's pissing you off. You'll have something to watch and take you away from the Christmas pudding for a short amount of time. Okay, come over Richmond way sometime this Christmas for a beer. I'd love to do that, Wade. I'm a little far from Richmond at the moment, even further than you might think. But thank you, and that's very kind of you. And if we are in the UK again soon, it'll be nice to see you. Thanks for coming on board, guys. Trade safe. Crypto, boring and dull. Don't lose money in the churn. It's tough to trade generally. It's particularly tough in a directionless setting up for new moves markets. And my suspicion is next major move will be bear, but that doesn't mean you rush in and get short now. It can have long rallies for quite a while. So play safe out there. Best not play at all. Bear or square is my view. Square it is. Okay, you now know how I'm standing in crypto. With that, I say good night. I see the guys that want to learn more about trading. There's an offer at the end of it. You can get the actual particulars, not the rumor mill. And you will also, I'll post the links I promised in the vid at the end of this. Bye for now, guys. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate the likes and the support.